Hi again, my name is Rebel and I'm the Rebel Reseller, and today I'm going to be doing another one of my brand research categories videos. I decided to go ahead and go with Dakin. It probably, if I had to narrow down my top 5 brands, Dakin would be in there. You know, I love Animal Fare, but there's not that many things to choose from in the Animal Fare brand. You know, I like Gund. I like Applause, and a lot of times Applause and Dakin, they're both on some of the tags. So, you know, there's just brands that I really like, and especially the vintage. I'm always going to have the vintage is going to be my favorite. So I decided to go with Dakin this time. I had to quit. I could have had 100 examples for you guys. It just, the list kept going and I was like, ooh, that's pretty. I'd like to share, but I had to stop. I think I'm right about $50. I think there's a few might be less than that. But yeah, there's tons of Dakin. So the way this works for me when I'm doing my research is I look it up. I only use used because that's what you're mostly going to find. And especially the vintage, it's going to be used. Even if it's got tags, I consider that used because it's vintage. You didn't just go to the store and pick it up. And it's going to be in the last 90 days on eBay. You know, I'm not going into the other platforms. I'm not looking at WorthPoint. I'm just looking at eBay solds. And then I bounce everything to Terapeak. Terapeak's good for me because if it was sold on a best offer, Terapeak tells me what the actual price was. Like one of the things that I'm going to be showing you, it's lower dollar, but they paid $124 shipping because it's a large plush. A lot of times when you're getting into the bigger dollar stuff, sometimes it's the large plush. So me personally, I don't buy a lot of large plush just because with the new dimensional shipping, it can be costly. But if I found something like some of these larger ones, I'd probably do it. Hopefully you can get like a large Walmart box and, you know, it'll fit in there. You're just going to have to cut it down the best you can because that dimensional weight, and more than likely it would go UPS or FedEx. So what I do is when I start going through the solds by used the last 90 days, I copy it over into Terapeak. And that way it's a couple of things. Like I said, if it's sold on a best offer, I will know. But also if it's been relisted and then resold again, I'm going to see that because it's a very narrow search when you're pretty much using the title of the item that actually sold. I then, from there, I go into the seller store and first check if they have feedback. Everything that I show you, you're going to know whether they got positive feedback or not. I make a note on each of the screens. It's the best I can do. If they've got positive feedback, you know it was probably a legit sell. But I also go back into their store and see if it's been relisted. So like if it's sold, but they didn't pay and it's back in their store, you know, that's the best I can do as far as my due diligence on if these are legit sales. You know, if it's back in their store, of course, that means they didn't get paid. Might have had to, but I doubt it. They probably didn't get paid. And I mean, I had a couple examples of those. Yeah, so that's how it goes. So let me go ahead and get this screen. There's so many good examples. So many. Started with this first one. This is pillow pets. Dakin, there's a lot of pillow pets, and a lot of times it says that right on the tag, especially with the vintage stuff. Also a thing to remember, if you pick up a plush and it's kind of stiff, a lot of times the vintage stuff wasn't stuffed the way they are now. But the pillow pets, they're kind of stiff. Like maybe, sometimes like the nutshells maybe, but a lot of times it's just stiff stuffing. I'm not quite sure what it is. But they used a lot of things that no longer are allowed to with the vintage plush. These are Possum Family Babies Plush. These sold for $46.88. I do have the note there that the buyer did not leave the seller feedback. But again, like I said, I go back in and make sure it has not been relisted in the store. And then Terapeak would also show me if it had resold. So, Foofer. I have a Foofer listed right now too. I picked up at the Highway 127 sale. This one is from 1984. This is the long one. I've already sold a smaller one that had suction cup feet to put on like windows. This sold for $48.99. This is a Dakin Bear Holiday Puffs Plush. It's from 1990. It sold for $50. I have tons of Dakin Bears. A lot of times they are long tail, but they're just so adorable. I'm going to buy them and wait for the right buyer. This is my sold. I think you guys saw it here very recently in one of my What Sold videos. This is a Dakin Miss Piggy plush from 1988. She sold for $52.16. Now this is Elegant by Dakin. Large plush, 37 inches, 1982. It sold for $55. And again, there was no feedback left. Now you're going to see quite a few Olympic and Special Olympic characters. Dakin did a lot of that type of stuff back in, you know, the 70s, 80s, 90s. I don't see it as much now. You know, Dakin still is making plush. I just love the vintage stuff. This is the 1980 Olympics mascot, Misha the bear. This one is 24 inches. I have sold and found smaller versions of this. This sold for $55. But she's very unique, and almost always you'll find the little Olympic circles on them somewhere. This was a 1985 Basset Hound Beagle plush. They just covered their bases, dog. It sold for $55, and the buyer did receive, or the buyer did give positive feedback. So anytime you see, especially dogs, I do very well with dogs and cats that are in the Dakin brand, and a lot of other brands also. There's quite a few examples that I'm going to be showing you. This was a Dakin Halloween Witch plush, musical pull down. It sold for $59.88. Dakin has a lot of what I call them the crib plushes. I don't think this was one of them, but a lot of times they have the type where you pull. You know, you could tie it to the bars of a crib and then pull, and it would play music. Usually they're my bread and butter. This is Precious Moments, a Dakin pink terry cloth doll. It was from 1995. Anytime you see any plush that has the terry cloth fabric, make sure you check it. A lot of times, for some reason, terry cloth is just very popular with collectors. This sold for $59.95.
Are you talking?
Yes, I'm waiting on you.
Why are you waiting on me?
You making noise.
You need me to talk to?
No, I don't need to talk to you right this minute.
Did you tell everybody we were going to be at the Prison to Profit thing in
I
Greenville,
haven't.
South Carolina?
We bought our
2
tickets in 2 weeks. Well, next weekend, right? Next weekend.
Yeah, a week and a half.
Yeah,
so
week and a
tonight.
half.
So if you're in the area,
Go on, sign up for it. We
Let us
can
know.
get together.
we'll get together at the get together.
There you go. All right. I pick up a lot of dream pets just because I like them. A lot of them were from the 50s, 60s, 70s. They're usually like this big, and kind of like a velour, velvety type of fabric. In fact, I have a couple of them over there. But they're usually not alike. A lot of times, in order to get a reasonable amount, you need to put some of them together. and sell them as a lot. I think there was an example on here where I want to say somebody got like $5 each in a large lot. But here is an example of one to definitely keep your eyes out for. It is Cat, the plush cat from the 1950s, 1960s. It sold for $60 and the seller did get positive feedback. So a lot of them look like this. They just, you know, very stiff. I think sometimes they were nutshells, and then sometimes they were like just a very thick, almost papery like stuffing. This is a very large plush. It's 42 inch, 1993 Pink Panther plush. I have a feeling it was probably kind of stiff, so there wasn't a whole lot of being able to squish it down, but probably some. I didn't realize this when I was looking at Terapeak all these other times, but it does actually show you the shipping. Like when you're seeing on this screen, that's the shipping that it would have cost if it was shipped to me. It's coming from Michigan. I'm in Tennessee, so it's closer. This person paid $60 for this Pink Panther, but they also paid $126 shipping. So, you know, there are certain things, certain characters that are highly collectible. Pink Panther's one, and I also know Garfield is one. I've got some examples of them in the much higher dollar category or pricing. So just because, definitely check your comps. Just because it's large, don't shy away too much. Now this is Jasper Senior. It's a Dakin Lou Rankin Bear plush. I guess it was numbered. It's a limited edition one. It sold for $60. This, very cute. See, I would pick this up, not even realizing it was Dakin. But this is a Dakin Classic 1989 Fawn Deer plush. It is large, 20 inches. It sold for $60 also. This is a vintage Dakin Sonic the Hedgehog plush. 1993. It sold for $65 and the buyer did leave positive feedback. Also, so far, I had a couple of people comment on my last one that they're listening to the video and wanted to know if these were buy it nows or auction. So far, everything's been buy it now, but I do have a few examples of auctions, which I will say when I get to them. Another plush. This is a Dakin Pillow Pets Doberman Pinscher plush, 23 inches tall, and because it's Pillow Pets, it's going to be a very stiff plush, so it's going to need extra packaging. If it's 23 inches tall, you know, you're right at that. I'm sure it can give a little. I don't think it would have hit the 24-inch threshold for dimensional weight, but it's still going to be up there. This did sell for $65 and the seller did receive positive feedback. Another Dakin. This is a musical plush. I'm thinking you pulled on the tail and it plays music. I've not had this one before, but it's adorable. 1989. It sold for $69.95. Dakin Cuddles. Now, any bear like this that I have picked up in the past is a Cuddles bear. It says it right on the tag with the Dakin branding, but it comes in different colors. There's tans and browns, blues, pinks, I think, whites. There's just a whole variety of colors, but they're called Cuddles, and they're probably my best-selling plush when I do find them. I don't usually hold on to them very long, but make sure you look at the tags to make sure that it is a Cuddles. This one was from 1979. It sold for $69.99. Now this is Dakin Coco Gorilla. I have had Coco before, but not in the large size. This is a 26-inch plush. There were two examples of these that sold right at $70. I picked the one that they had actually received positive feedback, but this Coco, it looks like she's got a little like slip-on. I'm not sure if that's original or if somebody's added that to the plush, but it sold for $70. Now this, there were quite a few of these. I just went ahead and picked this one. I'm not even sure if maybe I featured this in my last Lovey video, but this is Dakin. They're kind of large Loveys. This was the blue elephant. It sold for $71.98, but there's a large variety of them. So just if you see these type Loveys, definitely grab them. This one surprised me because it's not a Cuddles, and I don't normally see this type price on just Dakin bears. This one's from 1978. There was actually 2 of these heads sold. It says it's tan with a red felt tongue, white hands, feet, and it looks like the ears are white. 12 inches. It sold for $75, and the buyer did receive feedback. Buyer. I say that all the time. And the seller did receive positive feedback. Now here's one of the rubber-faced monkeys. His name is Zip or Zippy the monkey. He is Dakin brand, 1984. A lot of them do hold, like I just picked up a Superior Toy and Novelty monkey that looks very similar to this. This also says that it's a fun farm. I don't think I've had this one before. Of course, I would pick it up no matter what, but just adorable. I just love them, but there's a whole series of them. I think there's one that's called like Bim Zip, Zippy. I don't think this is it, even though he is being called Zippy Monkey. I don't know. Didn't do enough research on that, but we all know to at least double check our comps on rubber-faced animals. He sold for $75. This is a Dakin wind-up dragon plush. It plays Puff the Magic Dragon from 1986. This one sold for $75. Drooper. I've shown one in my recent haul. I think I had a yellow one, but they come in different colors. This was the highest one that I found at that moment in the last 90 days. There's 12-inch ones. There's smaller ones also. This one was from 1973, and it sold for $79. Several examples of these. This is Mr. Rogers from 1990. It's the owl hand puppet. It sold for $95, and the buyer did leave positive feedback. But yeah, I have not seen these type plush. I have found more of the contemporary Mr. Rogers stuff, like Daniel, what is it? Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. But I don't find a lot of the vintage Mr. Rogers stuff. I know it would catch my attention and I would know what that was. But definitely, there's several that were hand puppets, but then there's one that's not a hand puppet, so got to keep our eyes out. All right, these are Dakin Animaniacs. This is Yakko, Wacko, and Dot. Set of 3 from 1993. They sold for $95. Bloom County, Opus, and Bill the Cat. I find Opus a lot. This one is Bill the Cat. He's 15 inches from 1987. There were several of these that had sold. I don't think I've ever found him before. Maybe in something else, but not a plush, I don't believe. He sold for $99.99. So if you see a crazy looking cat like that, it might just be Bill the Cat. All right, this is Pinky and the Brain from 1994. There were several examples of these. I did pick this one for $99.99. No feedback was left, and the store was on vacation, so I couldn't really see if it had been relisted. But I just went ahead and at least let you know. If you see something that's pinky in the brain, definitely check your comps. This was Dakin 1987 plush dog with the little whirly bird hat on, 15 inches. It also sold for $99.99. Here's another Mr. Rogers. This was Henrietta the cat. I think this one was a puppet. Nope, it's saying a plush. So 1988, sold for $112.49. I have a plush that has this word in it. The word after Henrietta. I don't know if I'll get in trouble, so I'm not even going to say the word, but I have a plush that has that word because it's the manufacturer. It's that toy company. And I tried to cross-list that to Poshmark, I think, this week, and I got a message that says they don't allow vulgarity on their site. So that's the one thing. It's been on eBay for, you know, months, and like this one sold. eBay at least doesn't hit us on stuff like that when, you know, that was the name of the manufacturer. This was the name of the character. But I don't know if I said it, but the buyer did leave positive feedback on that. This is RCA Victor Nipper and Chipper mascot dogs. I find the little ones of this once in a while. The larger one is 24 inches tall, so it's huge. They do have the original box for it. It sold for $129.99. I'm thinking that is such a unique thing. It's going to be hard for probably a lot of us to find something like that. But I do tend to find this little one quite often. And it sells, but definitely not for that much. Now this is a Dakin 30-inch Jurassic Park dinosaur. I didn't even have the word dinosaur in there. Brachiosaurus. It sold for $129.99. I'm assuming that's still going to probably be a little oversized. I don't think you're going to be able to scrunch that down into a regular priority box, but man, I don't think I've ever seen one of them. Didn't even know they existed. Now, I saw lots of Garfield plush that were selling $100 to $200. But make sure when you find Garfield, I almost always sell them individually because a collector is going to want to pick what they add into their collections. I have found Pookie all by himself, that's Garfield's teddy bear, tends to do really well. 20, 30 bucks, I think, just for the little teddy bear. This was a Dakin Garfield 12-inch plush from 1981. It sold for $132.99. So it would have been a really big mistake to put that in a lot. So definitely check your comps when you're dealing with some of these older character plush. Again, another dark... I just need to quit saying. I'm trying to put Dakin and Garfield together. Another large Garfield, 36 inches long, from 1981. It sold for $149.25, and the seller did receive positive feedback for it. So, you know, I'm going to have to keep my eyes out for more Garfields. Now, this was Dakin Pillow Pet. Her name is Utopia Unicorn. Does have its original tags. It sold for $159.99. And this is kind of goes along with something I kind of sort of said earlier. If it's a vintage plush and you find it with its tags, I choose not to say that it's new. It's not. It's old stock. It's new old stock. But, you know, I think for me personally, if there was a fold or a spot somewhere, I don't want somebody saying, well, this wasn't new. I sell it as pre-owned, but I always say, you know, appears unused, if it was in a, like in a bag, or, in excellent condition like this person said. I don't really truly think it's going to affect your sales price unless it does have issues. But for the most part, this was the highest selling one, and it was used. I mean, it was listed as used. Now, there are lots of Barneys out there, and there are lots of Dakin, Lions Group, Barneys out there. But this original one, 10 inches, I think he's from Backyard Gang. I think that might be on the tag. But he kind of looks sad. Kind of, his eyes are half open. He's the one you're looking for. He sold for $194.99. I sell all things Barney. They're getting harder and harder to find, I think. And, I just picked them up, but I have never found this old one. I did notice, though, in Terapeak, there were a lot of these that were listed and sold for way less than this, because I don't think people are checking Terapeak when they're checking comps. When you look at eBay solds, you're only seeing 90 days. But if somebody hasn't listed one of these in a while, or you have several people who didn't check Terapeak and sold it for low, you tend to want to follow, that if you haven't checked just one step further. Now, we also did just sign up recently for WorthPoint. This is another one of the Mr. Rogers Neighborhood Plush. This is Daniel also. This one is from 1988. They have pictures here of it with like a hat and a scarf, but I don't think that those were original. This Daniel sold for $219, and the buyer did leave positive feedback. There was one that actually sold for more, but it didn't have positive feedback, so I just decided to go with this. So definitely keep your eyes out for Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Labyrinth. I've not watched this movie, but it's a Jim Henson Muppets. They've got the word Muppets plush. I guess his name was Ludo. I think there's another one I'm going to share with you. This one was an auction. It's from 1986, 14 inches. It ended at $227.50. But again, there was no feedback left for the seller. There were others. There's others that sold. So I have no doubt that is probably a legit sell. Secrets of NIM. I remember reading the book, but I don't think I've ever seen the movie. But this is Mrs. Brisby from 1982. It sold for $249.99. So definitely keep your eyes out. There's other characters I saw when I was checking out all of the comps. Here's an example of all of the Garfields. This is a lot of 28 of them. It sold for $250. That's crazy. And I think a lot of these are like the 6-inch plush, so that's really good. A little less than $10 a plush, so. And the seller did get positive feedback on it. So if you come into somebody's collection, check each one of them to make sure you don't have like that Garfield with the Pookie Bear. But, this might be a good way to give somebody else a very large collection. Oh, here's the other Daniel Tiger plush. They even put in here that this is not the puppet. Now, this one sold for more because I guess it came with a watch. And you can see this one has the watch band around his arm. It sold for $280. This is a Dakin Lou Rankin polar bear plush, 3 feet. I didn't look to see how much shipping was charged on this, or if it was a local pickup. I might go do that real quick. I want to know. All right, it sold for $299.99, and the shipping was $274.58. And the buyer received or the seller received positive feedback. Crazy. Dakin Lou Rankin. All right, next. All right, this is another one of the Labyrinth Plush. This is Fiery from 1986. This also was an auction. No feedback was left, but it ended at $300. And it wasn't relisted. It hasn't resold. So I'm pretty confident, based on the other one selling for as much as it did, that they're very, very hard to find. Now this, crazy. This is another one of those examples. This is the mascot for the 1996 Atlanta Paralympic Olympic Games. 9 inches. His name is Blaze the Phoenix Bird. He sold for $499.95, and the seller did receive positive feedback. Crazy. There were others. They didn't look like this, but there were others that were up there in dollar value. So if you ever see something that looks like this Phoenix, you might want to check it out. And then I just kind of opened this up. This is the Terapeak screen that I originally started with. What I'm going to do now that I've gone through all of these, because it messes up all of them, I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger for you guys to look at. I wanted to show you some of this is new, which is why it wasn't in my listings, in my video. But some of it was just older than 90 days also. So if you ever find that old Barney that I was talking about in the box, this sold for $700. Here's another Barney that was supposedly new in the bag, $610. Here's a Garfield set, supposedly sold for $480. More of the Labyrinth, Daniel Tiger, quite a few. But again, if you like this Dakin Bear, 18-inch from 1978, there was no current solds for it, but it's showing $324.99. So sometimes it's just good just to look through Terapeak. Pick something, pick Applause plush. Go in there. I've got a video on how I use Terapeak, but you can click where the price is at the little arrows above it, and it'll order it by oldest. Just kind of peek through them. Every once in a while, I'll think, like that white Dakin Bear, it didn't look like it was in great condition. So sometimes I might not have picked that up, but now I know if it looks white with the white paws, and might want to go ahead and grab it even if it's not looking in great condition. But a lot of these I did share with you guys. But here's a Lamut Francesca, I think her Orline. There's also a pig in that series. $205. Another Jim Henson plush, Sir Didymus, $200. So, I think research any topic, any category that you want. Go into Terapeak and look. See what is selling. If it's in the last 90 days, you can go into their store and check if it's been relisted. Check out their feedback. See if they got feedback for it. Familiarize yourself. This is how you find the odd stuff that you normally wouldn't pick up. So let me go back to this screen. I like my shirt. If you were in my live the other day, we stopped at we went to go out to dinner with RJ, my stepson's mom, and kids for a birthday party. And we got there early, ran into a t-shirt shop that was right next to it because we knew somebody who worked in there, but come to find out they make t-shirts. I didn't realize it wasn't just selling t-shirts and stuff like that. They actually made them. So we sent her my little logo and she made this for me. So I just thought it was adorable. I would never wear this out. It's going to be for my lives and some of these videos, but yeah, I'd be embarrassed. Walk around with a picture of myself. I know. I'll get over it soon. Ish. All right. Bye.